work profiling clients, or better, prospects, what we call prospects, not clients. So means that they are not clients yet. And we try to, let's say, to move them from the status of prospects to clients by addressing a specific communication. When you know, let's say, your targets, you need to try to address a specific communication to them. You need to try to get their attention and to and probably to propose, let's say, the right service and the right wording when you talk to them. It's easy, no, it's very difficult. It would be easy, but obviously, it is possible. And again, technology, a different approach, and organization are of paramount importance to do that. And then you need to know the markets, and you need to understand which is the best approach to the different markets. In my philosophy is that a company like ours has to manage, let's say, the market with a global, let's say, strategy, which means global and local. Okay, so global is the combination of the two words. When you talk to United States, you talk to Americans, you have to talk in a different way than when you talk to an Asian client. When you get in touch with the Chinese, is exactly, it's another story. So then talking to a Southeast Asian guys. And when you talk to a Russian or Middle East clients, is exactly another story. So you need to get in touch with them. You need to establish a relationship with them. How to do it? Well, it's complex. So, I mean, we cannot talk in 2 minutes, but it's a matter of strategy. And this goes back to my previous, let's say, concept. So today, to be winner in the markets and to be worldwide leaders, because that is also what you want to do. It also makes the difference. But if you are a worldwide company, you want to be leaders in possibly, you know, all the most important continents, all the major markets, you must have a strategy, and the strategy takes time, takes investments behind, and tools that has to be built. By chance, I think probably years ago, we could be, let's say, successful. Today is very difficult.
I would perhaps add also that gaining in-depth knowledge of a client before you meet with them the first time is very important. It is fundamentally. Any other questions?
A last question.
Espen, you mentioned it can take 3 to 5 years to build a yacht. That's longer than most marriages. So these days, how do you think the yachting industry should look at maybe speeding up the cycle? Because it can take 10 years to make a decision to buy a yacht, then 5 years to build it. That's almost a generation to build your super yacht.
Yeah.
Do you think about that?
Another part of expectations. Yeah. You know, I have I have some sort of personal theories about things in life that I've experienced over the lives. One of them that is that the bathroom towels the size of the bathroom towels are inversely proportional to the latitude. Further north you travel in Europe, when you go to the shipyards, you know, they become smaller. Another one is that the patience is inversely proportional to wealth. So that clients that are, you know, group of clients we're talking about here are very impatient. And the one thing money can't buy, we talked about time earlier, is time. And it's a huge problem for our industry that it takes, you know, a good 3 to 4 years to build a big boat. And you add on another year of studies and, you know, design before that. So unfortunately, I don't see a real solution to that, because we're talking about custom design, custom build. And most of the processes involved are incompressible. I mean, filling and fairing, for example, is an example. You just apply the fairing compound, you've got to wait for it to dry. before he can start signing it, and so on. And only things can be done in a certain order. A lot of things are being done in parallel, and with built in shops and installed on board later. But it's one of the biggest challenges we have is to how can we do this quicker? For many people, 5 years is enormous. If you look 5 years back, they may not even have the money to do it, and all of a sudden 5 years ahead of you is like incomprehensible. So, good question. Not sure about the average age of marriages, but anyway, I think that's it. What do we have any?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mrs. Olsen, Mr. Ate. I'm sorry we have been hacked. Wi-Fi of the Yacht Club have been totally closed. So sorry for losing you a few minutes. Thank you, Espen. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
If you want to have a coffee, we will have a break of 15 minutes, I think, more or less, and we will start again with our presentation. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please. Ladies and gentlemen, please. Même les autres, mais tous à fond. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to start again. The next presentation. È suo? Pulito? Vuole l'acqua? Manuel, come vuole lei, proprio si faccia come a casa sua anche per dopo. Adesso verifica hanno cambiato i bicchieri. Sono puliti, ok, hanno cambiati, non li hanno cambiati.
Questo è mio, puoi lasciarlo qua.
Questo è suo.
Sì.
Ladies and gentlemen, please. C'est après. I would like to introduce the next presentation done by Mr. Manuel Bianchi, Managing Director, Global Head of Sales from WealthX. Thank you for being with us. If you want to sit down, thank you so much. Manuel, it's up to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'll have to figure out how this works. All right, perfect. Back, you go back. Good stuff. Hi, good morning, everybody. Great to be here, very excited to be here after 15 months of jail time, pretty much. A bit shocked to see that in Monaco you have to wear a mask outside, which is a bit shocking for me, but took the call, jumped in the car, drove down last night. I'm very excited to be here, like I said. We heard very interesting opinions this morning, and we're going to take a quick break from talking about expectations, trust, which we're going to go back to with the panel in about 20 minutes. I want to take a step back and look at the markets, the ultra high net worth individuals market specifically, and the billionaires as well. You'll see a little bit of very high net worth as well, which are going to be the ultra wealthy of the future. So Boat spoke about the yachting market at the beginning. It seems like we keep doing these conferences in tandem, him and I. Can you hear me okay? Yeah, to the back, good stuff. All right, so just want to jump straight in, I guess. There you go. Just setting the context a little bit about who's WealthX. I see many familiar faces in the room, which is great. For some of you that don't know us, I'm not going to go through everything here, but this is WealthX. We've been around for 10 years now. We do have a global team of researchers, and we help our clients understand their prospects and clients by providing them with data. And data is, we believe, the key driver. Somebody asked a question half an hour ago about doing your homework, you know, we come and play in that stage. We make sure our clients use their time. We talked about time as well this morning. Use their time at best selling. We provide the intel and they do the homework and go out and sell. As you can see at the bottom right, we provide intel to 4 main sectors. We sold the company, time flies, 18 months ago to Euromoney PLC, private, publicly listed company in the UK. As you can see, they also own, well, 35 plus companies, but within what they call the people intelligence pillar, there are 3 more companies that are very similar to us. We just recently acquired Wealth Engine and Relsci, and the plan is going to bring the 4 companies together really soon. And by soon, I mean, we've already started. So very soon, there's not going to be a WealthX anymore. There's going to be a brand new company. And these are going to be several of the products. You may have heard of them. You may have worked with some of them. You may work with some of them currently. You're going to see a lot of good stuff coming out of this great merger where, by the way, we're not letting anybody go. We are hiring even more. So exciting times to be part of what Euromoney calls People Intelligence Pillar today, which is going to get rebranded in a matter of months. Just to set further the context and just tell you where we come from. This is what WealthX has originally been doing for 10 years, looking after ultra high net worth individuals and very high net worth individuals, these lower tiers. Clearly, billionaires belong in the ultra high net worth cluster, 300,000 individual, more or less, 3 million individuals in the very high net worth space. And then Wealth Engine comes in play with the lower tier as well as the upper tier, where we're going to reconcile the data. But clearly, we're going to start looking at the high net worth population as well as the mass affluent, which is going to be also quite interesting because, again, that wealth is getting passed on and created on. And then Bordex and Relsci are going to help us make that data on career history and so on and so forth more valuable, more refined. Clearly, you are, if you operate in the yachting space, on this side of the table. But again, all this data that we're getting from all these companies is going to make us even stronger. So let's jump straight into the findings. Like I said, 2 primary, should probably stay closer like that. There you go. 2 primary groups, ultra high net worth individuals, $30 million in net worth and above, controlling about $32 trillion. And the very high net worth population from $5 to $29 million, controlling pretty much the same, actually a little less with 1 more 0 there. So close to 3 million individuals. These, again, are in a way on target, especially on the chartering side, but clearly are going to be the ultra wealthy of the future, like I just said. Where these ultra high net worth individuals are, just again to set the major context, and I will go deeper. The Americas still hold the largest number of ultra high net worth individuals at 38%. EMEA, including Middle East and Russia, controls about 33% of them, and then Asia Pacific 29%. That number is rising. EMEA tends to be a little stagnant. It's been the case over the past 5 years, and Asia Pacific might actually get there at some point, depending on how different governments are also making different decisions and trying to get along, I guess. Billionaires, you read today that we are going to cover billionaires as well. I'm just showing you here the different splits, and Europe leads the global map in terms of billionaires location based on business locations, not on residence. We do not have access to passports. We do not know where these individuals pay their taxes. We're not investigators. We're not spies. We work on publicly available information only. And we know for a fact, though, where these individuals reside in terms of their primary business location. And that 850 number comes out of Europe. That does not include Middle East in the slide. So very exciting on that perspective, while you saw on the previous slide, ultra high net worth individuals primarily are located in the Americas. Some of these numbers below tend to rise, but then also tend to shift to the upper side of the slide or of the globe. And then, we can tell you a lot more about these groups. Here again, to set the context, you will see on the left side the number of ultra high net worth individuals by wealth tier 30 to 50, 50 to 100, $100 million plus in net worth. And then on the right side, the amount of wealth, right? So you'll see right away that as soon as we start looking at 100 million plus, which is pretty much in line with the yachting target audience, we are looking at close to $20 trillion solid in wealth controlled with only 50,000 individuals versus the 300,000 of the global population. So that may be obvious or not, especially the fact that between 50 and 100 is not much difference between the 30 and 50, but clearly the 100 plus million. And as we get higher with the billionaires, you will see that number increase even more, right? Billionaires account for 1% of the global ultra high net worth population. They control an enormous amount of wealth. Somebody, again, talked before about doing your homework and understand your clients. That's where we come in, right? So clearly, we also tell you what industry they come from. Some of these stats here may not be too surprising, but some, again, are extremely important and vital for you to know and understand how you put together your strategies, how you communicate with this audience, how you address this market, right? So again, rest of the world, industrial conglomerates might not be shocking for you to find out, banking and finance being globally there. But clearly, the fact that the U.S. is good, is strong on technology, the same is for the rest of the world, rising and getting bigger and bigger. Manufacturing as well. You see also food and beverage industry being big in Europe, as well as textiles and apparel luxury goods. And then, a little bit of retail in the US over there, of course, and clearly nonprofit and social organizations. So somebody, I believe it was Paolo before, that said, when you're speaking to somebody in the US or in Asia, it's a total different conversation. These are all elements that need to be taken into account. And this is where we really come in and try and, again, qualify these prospects and make sure that what you bring to the table makes sense to them, right? So here you have a list of interest, passion, hobbies split by US, Europe, and rest of the world. And again, there are some things that you might know, i.e. the fact that sports is big across the world, good stuff. But clearly you may not know that, for example, family is actually way more important in Europe versus the US and the rest of the world. By the way, US includes, that probably should be rephrased, includes Americas. You all know how family is important in Latin America, for example. That said, Europe still exceeds that. Right, you will see the rest of the world is also strong in philanthropy, which is, again, not something that usually we take for granted, as well as aviation. So all of these, statistics are really important to understand the market. But at the end of the day, like many people said before, especially when you're talking about ultra high net worth individuals and billionaires, it's all about a one-to-one activity. It's all about getting to know them on a personal level. So again, this is just a taste. We go deeper into each and every one of them, profiling them, giving our clients, and like I said, a lot of familiar faces in the room, thanks to the dossiers, as we call them, you're able to really understand what the do's and don'ts are, what you should mention, what you should not mention, how you're going to create a connection with these individuals. You all know direct mailing and cold contact doesn't work in this industry. It usually doesn't work in any industry, let alone the fact that it's pretty much illegal now in most countries. And let's not even start with GDPR. So, this is all about trying to create that connection and allowing our clients to get in touch with their clients by bringing their experience to the table, bringing their connections, their past companies as well, to get in touch with these individuals and connect with them. This slide is really key. We've been talking about COVID, clearly. It's a must now. We're going to cover that during the panel as well. It's the rebound we've seen, right? Very exciting, top right. End of 2019, 290,000 ultra high net worth individuals globally. End of March, a 60,000 drop. And then end of August, a rebound back to 290. This is incredible, right? A lot of wealth was lost. And then most of these individuals, as well as new individuals, managed to find a way to recreate wealth and get back to where they were literally 8-9 months prior, right? I believe everything you've seen and heard and what you're seeing and already know about your industry specifically tells you and confirms this rebound, right? This is really exciting. And, we're soon going to start looking at how the end of the year played out in this context, as well as the first part of 2021. And we're about to release a couple of reports that are going to look specifically into that. So this really confirms everything you've seen. And as you can see, it is pretty exciting to see how this is applicable to every single market, even where the numbers are really, really small, like Africa or the Pacific area, right? We recently released a global luxury city index. Clearly, there's been a major shift from the hubs towards second homes, as well as countrysides and so on and so forth. But as you can imagine, I'm hearing that 50% of the Monegasque population is getting a vaccine. So that is the case in many places, especially if you think about the US, where masks are not even mandatory anymore when you go shopping. That is actually shifting back. So I was about to relocate to New York. I know what I would have spent on that apartment 18 months ago, and I know what I would spend now. Good news, I'm not going anymore. So I'm happy in Switzerland, which is good. But this is the rebound that we're seeing, and these are still the main countries. So this is why you don't see anything that is really out of the ordinary. And clearly, New York is still at the top, Tokyo on second, and Hong Kong on third. Not many European countries, but clearly, as you know, European has major hubs. Clearly, not the case of France, where there's pretty much just Paris. Don't get offended. But in terms of density, ultra high net worth population, same thing for London. But if you think about Germany, for example, 4 or 5 different main hubs. If you think about Switzerland, probably too small to even play in this league, I guess, but clearly Zurich and Geneva will be on the map if you go lower. But these are the major countries that continue to be there in terms of density of ultra high net worth individuals. And this is interesting about the footprint, right? How many individuals are you likely to bump into ultra high net worth individuals when you are in these specific cities? So we are in the right spot, I guess. At the top. And then if you look down, this is where places like Geneva and Zurich come and play, right? Like I said, not much density in terms of population, but clearly a wealthy country. And then you'll see the bigger countries like San Francisco and LA, but then you go down and you get a couple more surprises like Dublin, Stockholm, and so on and so forth. So very exciting to see how these individuals are moving around. As you know, ultra high net worth individuals are global citizens. So actually stating that somebody is in that location means that's, again, where they've got their primary business location. They move around a lot and very quickly. The changing of the luxury preferences, right? We've tried to understand, and again, we didn't go as deep as Annalisa and Dr. Klaus did. We are not interviewing and talking to these individuals, but we are looking at behavior and data again. And we definitely can confirm, and again, your industry is confirming it even more, that private luxury is here to stay, right? We talked about second homes, yachting is booming, private aviation is eager to get booming again. And it seems like now borders are reopening in most countries. And clearly the online distribution is growing. Not a surprise, but maybe a surprise for you to know that many companies have actually exceeded their results based on their forecasting around online servicing. Now, clearly, that is probably something that applies more to retail than yachting, but then, somebody 2 hours ago just talked about AI. We still believe in human interaction at WealthX, even if we are a data company. We are not firing, we're hiring people, not machines. We do believe in those relationships for sure. We believe a lot in what's happening right now. We're all sick and tired of Zoom, and imagine just talking to a robot all day is probably not the best, but it's true that some people do like that. And it is actually true, and it's demonstrated by the fact that individuals can still buy and spend decent amounts of money online without necessarily seeing the person's face, which is never going to be the case in yachting, I guess. I'm hoping, but we'll see, right? Asset allocation, we have a proprietary model that we built at WealthX that we've been refining over the years. And that model allows us to calculate and estimate the share of wallet of these individuals. And this is specific to ultra high net worth individuals as a group. And usually we see that more than 1/3 of that share of wallet is liquid assets. This is a massive news for the market, for your market, for any market. But also clearly very interesting news for other people in the room. There are, advising these families about, their 6% of real estate and luxury assets, as well as private holdings and so on. So again, extremely important to know how their wealth is allocated, and this liquidity rises in times of uncertainty. So that means there's a great chance, great opportunity to actually make them spend their money, which may sound a little aggressive. So let me rephrase that, make them invest their money for what they like and love. I think I'm close to wrapping this up. And again, we wanted to take a quick break on the qualitative aspect and look on a quantitative aspect. There you go. This is part of an analysis that we ran on about the same number of, hope you can see in the back, you've got a screen over there, about the same number of jet owners, yacht owners, and art collectors. Again, no interviews were made here. This is purely backed up by data and our researchers. We've got a team of, I should stop saying 100 researchers because we're going to bring the 4 companies together. So we're going to get to 700 researchers globally. But you know, these are the top countries that these individuals were from. And this is what you see here. Somebody said before and talked about the fact that when individuals are used to wealth, when they get that knowledge and that habit, they make different decisions. You see that 50, 64, and 71% of these individuals are self-made. So these individuals need to be educated into wealth as well, need to be educated in how they spend their money, what's an investment, what's not an investment, what's a good one, what's not a good one, how you make your decision, your choices. What we've seen, again, from a quantitative perspective, but the data tells us a little bit about a qualitative as well. As soon as you talk about inherited wealth or a combination of the two, it tends to be a bit more of a thoughtful decision of the family. Clearly, there's the cultural aspects as well, which I'm not going to go through right now, otherwise we would need another hour. But self-mades tend to be a little more impulsive, and usually the person decides on their own, but that clearly may change as well. So extremely important that you understand your audience as a group and then down to the individual. Male-female proportion, not very different from what we see in the usual percentages, although the big difference here is on the right side with the art collectors, whereas a good 22% of female ultra high net worth individuals. Consider that globally only 12.5% of ultra high net worth individuals are women. So that's pretty much double as much. And then the age, somebody talked about age again before. That age is not really going any lower right now. New wealth is being created, yes, but life expectancy is growing, which is a good thing. So that number isn't quite shifting yet. So, you know, that age still continues to be the key one, definitely in this era, rather than the below 50. Oh yeah, well, I talked about this. Something that Marcela would be very happy to see here, as well as others. You know, only 8% of billionaires own a yacht, and only 1.8 ultra high net worth individuals own a yacht. You've seen the numbers from both before. This kind of gives you the opposite side of the coin. There's a huge potential, right? 2,800 billionaires globally, only 8% owning one. You do the math. 300,000 individuals who are ultra wealthy, only 1.8% owning a yacht. You know exactly how many yacht owners there are out there. You know it better than me. There's a massive opportunity. Now, having wealth, having money doesn't mean they're into it, as you know extremely well. So this is where we come in and helping you understand, all right, you know, this person should be a buyer, should be a prospect, this person shouldn't. Down at the bottom, this is also part of this report that we launched, I believe, on Thursday last week on interesting facts and interest, passion, hobbies of the wealthy. Sports and philanthropy really continue to be the top 2 across the globe, across all tiers. So clearly those need to be in the picture. All right. Before we go to the panel, did I stick to the 20 minutes? Yeah, all good? Good stuff. Any questions? I don't see anything on Zoom anymore. I don't know if that's normal, right? Yeah. Any questions from the room?
Any question? No? Nobody?
On the 8% of billionaires owning a yacht, what's the trend on that going forward?
That's a good one. I don't have the answer right there. I'm going to give it to you because we've got 10 years of historical data and models that can look at the trend. I believe it's gone up. You've seen the amount of yachts that are getting built of higher sizes. So as soon as you start looking at yachts that cost more than, you know, I would say, you know, 60, 70, then, you know, your wealth needs to be at a decent level as well as your liquidity, right? The most obvious example I would take, go back, I guess now, what is it, 15 years? Take a Zuckerberg, 15 years, billionaire, no liquidity. Clearly now this has changed. But net worth doesn't tell you everything. You need to know the liquidity, and you need to understand, what the ratio is of that. So one of the many mistakes that we've seen with our clients, it doesn't matter in which category, it could be automotive, it could be anything, is expect somebody who's worth $100 million to buy an asset for 30. It's never going to happen, right? So to buy an asset of 30, you need to be at least $400 million worth, unless they're making, I guess, a stupid decision or an impulsive decision. But I can get you that number for sure.
Anything to add, Marcela? You want to add something? Maybe I know what you.
No, what I think is interesting is to define how you calculate net worth, right? And what you're talking about liquidity is really interesting. And a figure about exactly what you were saying, I think it's interesting how much of your net worth should be spent on an asset like that does not generate you any income, like a yacht. So I think it was 10%. Do you have the number?
Yeah, exactly.
10%.
Yeah, so again, the share of wallet is fundamental, right? You can know everything about them, but then just take for granted that they've got the wealth, they're going to spend, any amount of money. Somebody said before, they usually walk in with a budget. I guess we all do, right? We want to buy a computer, you know exactly how much we want to spend. Then if the salesperson is really good enough to tell us, well, if you put 200 more on the table, you'll get the best of the best, and maybe there's some after service as well, which we talked about as well. You make a different decision. So that is fundamental, right? One of the first things that you need to know is clearly how many there are out there, how many are suitable for what I'm offering, and how much can they really spend on it. And clearly, I never said that there are 2,800 billionaires that should buy a yacht. This is never going to be the case, right? But clearly, there's much, much, much more than that small 8%.
Thank you, Manuel. Thank you so much. Very interesting. Last one.
Thank you. Just a question. I've already seen some of your reports, and I've seen it very well done, very interesting. But I just had a question. Where you get the information? You need to ask to the people an authorization to.
It was about time somebody asked a question.
Yeah.
We always get it. No, so the data is exclusively public. GDPR compliant, as you can imagine. We, by the way, as the GDPR went live in May 23rd in 2018, we've been educating our clients on it for a year, on how to be compliant before they could do anything with us. We don't need to reach out, right? There's, as you know, especially in Europe, GDPR talks about legitimate interest. And also it would be insane to expect us to go after 300,000 people and tell them, hey, can we profile you, right? Exactly. And again, I haven't really talked much about the numbers, but today we profile 300 ultra wealthy and 1.5 million very high net worth. In 4 months' time, as we bring everything together, the 4 companies that I mentioned, we're going to be profiling 110 million people. There's no chance we're going to go out there and say, hey, do you mind if I profiled you? Clearly, we have to do our due diligence, making sure we profile the right data, what is, again, in the legitimate interest. So we removed everything around religion, ethnicity, health. All of that is gone, which, by the way, is a massive damage to our clients not to have that data, but we just can't do it, right? So that's how we do it. We've got, like I said, 100 researchers today covering 40 languages. And I always say to everybody when we talk about WealthX and we present WealthX, you could do what we do if you had a ton of time and if you spoke 40 languages, right? But clearly, our researchers, just to give you an idea, have on average 2 to 3 masters. They speak at least 3 languages. The average is 4.5. Pretty good group of geniuses. The first thing that you do when you join the company, and I did it when we launched a company 10 years ago, you build a dossier. They make you build a dossier, and the results is usually a disaster. So you move over and you do your thing.
Yes, but it was very interesting because I've seen also for some people where you put even the phone number sometimes. So they say, wow.
Yeah, again, phone numbers, email addresses, we do provide them on a business level. We are very much against it. If it was my decision, I would remove it from the dossiers. Because there still are organizations like there that put their entire strategy on direct mailing campaigns, which is clearly not, if it depends what you sell, right? But if you're selling a yacht, it's probably not the right way to do it. So again, you can look at the database and put different criteria in it and realize there are 118 individuals that match those criteria, and that's your market. But then usually the question right after is, okay, what do I do now? How do I get in touch, right? And this is where we come in and we say, well, instead of doing the search this way, why don't you bring in your own experience? Where did you go to school? Oh, you started at the University of Monaco. Good stuff. Try and type in that under education history, and the Wealth X database will tell there are 500 individuals that have done some or part of their studies at that university. There are ultra high net worth individuals today. If you have a strong allotment network, that could be a way to get in touch with some of them. Or try typing in where you were born, right? If I take my small little loved Lugano in Switzerland, if I type in Lugano, there you go. There's 150 ultra high net worth individuals in Lugano. I don't know all of them, but if I wanted to speak to a good double dozen of them, I could find a way to do that. My dad's been in banking for 30 years. I could use that network. I realized the other day, because I was doing that search, by the way, I went to high school and it was a public school, you know, nothing crazy expensive, with 4 of the nephews of the 4 wealthiest individuals in Ticino. So if you bring in your experience, if you bring in your connections, if you study and you do your homework, you're going to be able to get in touch with these individuals.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Manuel, I think we're going to continue on the expectation parts. Now it's more on wealthy families. So I would like to let Manuel continuing his moderating role for the panel, for next panel. For your information, there's no question. So if there are any question online, please do not hesitate. The moderator have a question just in front of him. I would like to welcome now on the round table, Mr. Alejandro Velez, the country head of UBS Monaco, Mr. Xavier Devernay, I'm sorry, CIO from Preamble Monaco, and finally, Mr. Patrick Coates, the Chief Marketing Officer and Head of Northrop & Johnson Monaco and International, sorry. Thank you.
Let's do a quick microphone check and see if everything works. Love it, no masks. Good stuff. Great. Okay, so quick preamble. Back to the qualitative side of things. You know, you've heard a lot about managing expectations. We're back here with individuals that do that on a daily basis. Thought leaders in the space. We talked about trust as well. We have a couple of questions that hopefully will give you some additional insights to what you've already heard before. So really, I just want to ask a generic question and just maybe hear the opinion of the three. But before I do that, maybe I'll just let you briefly introduce yourselves.
Good morning, everybody. Pleasure to be here with all of you. My name is Alejandro Velez. I just arrived to Monaco about 5 months ago. Before I was in Zurich, Geneva, and Miami, originally from Latin America, from Ecuador. So I'm managing UBS here. And before, as you may have thought already, I was managing for UBS Latin America and for another bank, Latin America, so European bank. Pleasure to be here.
Good morning. There we go. Better. It's better. My name is Patrick Coates. I oversee operations for Northrop & Johnson brokerage company in Europe. And my background has either been working in the brokerage and shipyard world, liaising with clients and family offices, or more recently in family offices, liaising with brokerage companies and shipyards.
Hello, everybody. My name is Xavier Midorge. I'm the CEO of Preamble Wealth Partner Monaco. My background is several years in big banks and deciding to create an independent company with my Swiss associate with, let's say, a behavior close to a multifamily office. So asset management and services.
Thank you. All right. So look, we've been talking about wealth, the wealthy, luxury going from exclusivity to bespoke to uniqueness. We're in this unique setting in Monaco. We've talked about excellence, which, as I understand, is the name of the origin of your company. So let me maybe start with you and ask you. And again, I want to hear thoughts from all three of you on this question. You know, why are individuals attracted by Monaco? Why are they coming to Monaco? Wealthy individuals, wealthy families, and maybe are there any roadblocks in coming to Monaco, and how do you solve that? And how do you potentially manage those expectations when wanting or willing to come to Monaco?
First of all, I think that one of the main criteria is the safety in Monaco. Second, it's a city well known, so people know somebody in Monaco, so that could be interesting to be here. Third, look outside, the weather, the port, and you have all what let's say wealthy people want: good hospital, good school, bank services, entertainment. So when you are European, it's not obvious, but it could be.
When we brainstormed about this session, I don't remember who mentioned the prizes, the real estate prizes. Was it Alejandro? Right. Maybe that's one of the roadblocks, right?
Yes, I agree with you that all of that are the reasons why people come here. But let me materialize these examples, right? It is very difficult for somebody to be, 20 minutes, 30 minutes away from an airport. And as we saw here, 50% of ultra high net worth individuals like to have an airplane or rent one. So the fact that we can travel here to Nice and have access to that airport is fantastic. Obviously, as you said, the weather, the schools, all of that. Security is hugely important. I get that a lot from our clients, but also the fact that you can go to a hospital and be attended at the hospital, right? There is a personalized possibility to be treated there. So, when you compare, if you're a client and you're going to say, I'm going to move to another location, and you have London as a big city with everything that comes as a positive to it, the quality of life that Monaco opens with as a possibility with everything you said, I think it's quite strong. But it's just a race. At the end, we need to be here 1% better than the rest. So it's not a huge difference. I'm not going to say that the tax incentive is hugely better than a resident non-dom, or that the hospitals are much better than in Zurich, or that the weather is, well, maybe the weather is better. But it's a combination, and I think this place is just a bit better than everything else when you combine it.
I mean, if the question is why live in Monaco, as a Monaco resident, I mean, I can't think of any reason why you wouldn't want to live in Monaco. But I mean, apart from the quality of life and the fiscal and taxation benefits, of course, I mean, I now feel like I'm really stating the obvious, but from a yachtsman's perspective, if you're a high net worth individual coming here with a yacht, I mean, you're in on the edge of the Mediterranean, 4% of the world's oceans, but the most active in terms of yachting, within easy reach of the Balearics, the Aeolian Islands, Sardinia, Corsica, the Eastern Med, the Adriatic coast, the most amazing cruising grounds, or some of the most amazing cruising grounds on Earth. You can live in an apartment that overlooks a natural harbor where you can see your yacht. Most of the high-end apartments look out at the ocean. We have a head of state who's focused on ocean conservation and the best yacht club in the world. So from a yachtsman's perspective, I mean, it's a no-brainer.
We might have started with an obvious one. So maybe let's talk about, again, expectations with roadblocks, right? What could be the skepticism? What could be the roadblocks when individuals are looking to move to Monaco?
I think the price of real estate is the main one, right? When you see that the average price is about 50,000 euros per square meter. And then the new projects are, depending on who you ask, obviously, but it's between 80 and 100,000 euros per square meter on the Vaneterra project. Clients ask themselves, is this the right place for me to live? Obviously, having a 500-meter apartment like they are used to, it becomes quite an expensive place. Nevertheless, I know someone that just moved here, And you know, I'm just giving you some background on how these people act. You know, he's a real billionaire, and he went and decided to rent an apartment for a year because he was going to try it out. He didn't like it, and he moved to another one. So now he has two. Right. So I think that these people find that it's a roadblock because it is a very expensive place to rent or to buy. But that doesn't mean that, you know, if he doesn't like the second one, he can move to a third one and be paying 3 apartments, right? Which is a reality different than for most of us.
Any other roadblocks you've seen?
I'm not agree that price of the real estate is the roadblocks. Especially the more you are rich, the problem is very small. But people maybe want to have some small, bigger country where they can work without seeing friends. I'm living in Monaco, so sometimes it's very cool, but sometimes it's too much. And the quality of the real estate, because not all the people live in the boat. And some buildings, they are more close to, I don't know, social buildings compared to Switzerland or to London than elsewhere. So price could be a roadblocks for, let's say, millionaires, let's say early millionaires. For billionaires, I'm not sure.
Good stuff. Interesting. Manage expectations. Let's maybe spend a few words on how these have changed over a period of time. Up to you to decide if you want to look back at 5, 10, or 20 years. But clearly these have changed, and we've heard this this morning as well. So let's maybe Patrick, you give us the yachting angle, and then we'll see what Patrick and Alejandro will share on the other front.
In terms of the expectations of
and how they've changed in the past years.
Well, as Espen alluded to earlier, I think we've seen the sort of more macro environment changing in terms of regulation, everyone having to sort of raise their professional game across the yachting industry. I don't think that customers are, in essence, any more demanding than they were before. I don't think their expectations are any higher than they've ever been before. It goes a little bit against what others have said, but I think a lot of people have actually got quite simple and straightforward.
So do you think it's the people who serve them that are raising those expectations versus the demands?
I think there's a sort of misconception that when you're dealing with high net worth people and a lot of money in the luxury world, everything's got to be, you know, super complicated and embellished and difficult. I mean, I think their needs are actually quite basic. You know, if we bring it back to the sort of family office situation, you have wealth management within a family office, and a lot of that relates to risk management and risk mitigation. And when you're dealing with risk, whether that's operational risk, liquidity risk, credit risk, whatever it is, you just want to know what's going on. And your needs are really quite basic. You want people around you to say what they mean what they say, you know, do what they say. And I think the problem is, I feel a bit bad saying it, but across the yachting industry, I do feel that the bar is pretty low. I think the expectations are fairly low in some areas, and people continually fail to meet them. And that's a shame. I think people just want honest, quick, accurate, straightforward, well-presented information so they can manage the risks that they're responsible for, they can understand what's going on, they can receive regular reporting, transparency. Those are not high expectations. Those are the basics.
That's interesting. Patrick?
The same. The expectation is the same for me. Performance first. After, let's say, COVID and the situation, it's how they use their money now. And by chance for the private jet industry and yachting industry, it's a chance because the privacy, the security for the health is very important. So, but they need also to have, let's say, yes, some are exhausted by, let's say, lack of transparency, lack of independency. So they ask more and more about that, for sure, which is the main difference. And they know that we are still on Earth for a short period. So they want to enjoy with their family, which is very important. So the performance is the first thing, because if we make good performance, they have needs to do what they want and to maintain their capitals.
Yeah, we talked about delivering time to them, right? We talked about it this morning.
So I think Monaco is changing, and that is due to the expectations of the people who are moving here. When I speak to the large real estate constructions builders here, before they were building these apartments that you were alluding to, which did not really have the finished that some of these people are looking for, or the size, right? So now people are moving here, younger generations. I think that's thanks to everything that is happening on the technology world. You know, you're getting liquidity at a younger age, and you move with your family. So you're not here to just rent an apartment 50 meters, get the tax break, and live, 9 months out of the year somewhere else. You're actually moving here with your family, and this becomes your primary residence. That is why the international school is building a new campus. That's why this moving. You know, you need to, as a city or a state, as a principality, you need to have the means to receive the people that are going to be coming on the next years, right? So I think that is one. On the banking sector, you also see that people before were managing their money mostly outside of the country. And now I think the principality is also asking them to put more money here. So we see it in the bank, and if you see, assets under management are publicly discussed here, for UBS, we have been growing significantly, double-digit numbers in the last couple of years. So, and I think that is a reflection of how the clients that are living here are just investing more in the principality. Obviously, also the markets are helping and all of that, but I think that we see more investments here. And the third one is that clients have realized that this can be also an industrial place. I mean, you have from the companies that make the coffee machines, right? You can make coffee machines, you can be an industrial in Monaco, to actually family offices. So family offices, I mean, multi-family offices or single family offices that are having, or are having an impact on everyone here in terms of sophistication. So we see former bankers. I can think of one family office that hired a very senior former UBS guy to manage the family office. And of course, he is asking us to up the game. So we need to invest in IT. We need to change our IT platform. We probably need to expand our footprint in terms of real estate, et cetera, right? And we need to start hiring people from outside of the location. So, in terms of sophistication, we also have to upgrade ourselves.
Thank you. So we talked about the difference over time. Xavier, I wanted to ask you if you've seen any significant differences, and that I think is going to be extremely interesting for the audience as well, because they are dealing with different cultures. So we've talked about difference in time. What about the difference in cultures? We know there are multiple families from multiple nationalities in Monaco. How's that conversation different? And you don't have to name a specific, but how is that different, if there is a different? And then I want to hear also from Patrick,
cultures?
Between cultures, how the conversation goes. Are you talking to just the main family member? You're talking to the entire family? What are the needs? What are the expectations?
First of all, I want to make a difference between billionaires and millionaires, because we start to see some billionaires with a very high vision focused on philanthropy, for example. For millionaires, I don't think is the case, okay? So I can say for millionaires, the culture is money and performance and enjoy life, okay? For billionaires, it's another story. The difference in
when you say millionaires, you say up to
between let's say 10 millions to 100. Yeah, let's say something like that. Sorry to be short, but it's my experience. For the cultures, some people want to know that they own boats, some not. So I think the more you are rich, the more you want to show in general, in my opinion. But I can say that on our industry, we do not see a lot of difference between cultures. Because a bank account is a bank account. Maybe for the design of the boat, it's very important, but for the performance, it's another story.
Interesting.
I mean, one can't deny there are differences between cultures. I mean, for sure, as Paolo alluded to earlier. But I would also agree that what's more interesting is how high net worth people structure their affairs and the team around them as they go up in the scale of wealth, and how one has to adapt one's approach and understanding of their needs as a team, whether you're dealing with a single client directly, or with his representative, or with his board, or with his family office, and you start to get more and more removed from the client. So understanding the different needs of the different influencers is also very important, perhaps even more so than cultural differences. But you know, I hate to generalize in the super yacht world, because from my own experience, everyone is an individual, everyone is a human, and we're dealing with such a small number of people who are all human with their own experiences and differences and points of view. It's so difficult to generalize, and the word clients I really struggle with. But I think what people do want is they want good advice, they want sound advice, they want accurate advice from someone who knows what they're talking about. You know, a family office I sometimes view as almost like a top table. You know, the tax advisor in the family office is there because he's really earned the right to be there, as has the investments manager, as has the whoever. Everyone there should be the best of the best. And the person from the yacht world who comes in as the yacht manager, or as the charter manager, or as the yacht broker, they need to be there because they also have earned the right to be there through knowledge, through experience, through background, through seriously knowing what they're talking about. And I think that's where sometimes we fail. We're in an unregulated industry, let's remember. You know, Marcella has done a book, a big compendium on everything you could possibly know about the super yacht world in conjunction with the Yacht Club. For me, it's not everything you could possibly know. It's everything you should know about the yacht industry if you're going to serve these clients properly and earn the right to be at that table.
We can generalize on maybe one thing. Customers want to be unique in their relation with you. And in each industry, they want that you are focused on what they need, their services. So this is the only thing I accept to generalize.
I wouldn't disagree. Alejandro, anything to add?
Manuel, your company and UBS worked together for many years, and I use your services a lot. And you know that UBS manages about half of the billions of the world. When I was in the US, obviously I was managing Latin America and having exposure to that, and some of the US billionaires as well. And I just don't think that this is a coincidence that two people that were based before in Miami are managing banks here today. And what I mean with that is that I think Monaco and Miami are sharing the same concept that this is a safe place for clients to come here, right? In Latin America, clients are trying to make sure that the social pressure, the fiscal pressure, the tax pressure doesn't get to their money, and they send the money to Miami or to the US. I think it's more or less the same story here in Monaco, right? You have a security, as we have said, right? We have a security issue. You want to travel, you want to be able to have a car here that maybe you don't take out of these 2 square kilometers and you own a Ferrari, but you know, at least you feel safe about it. So I think we share with other locations, and it may be Hong Kong, that desire of clients to safeguard their assets, to safeguard their families, to make sure that they are security-wise they are fine, and to use that location as also a safeguard for their liquid assets.
Yeah, it's security pops up towards the end of the day, which is interesting because I believe it wasn't really mentioned earlier. If we have 5-10 more minutes, I'd like to wrap up with. Do we have
one more thing? Sorry, do we have 2 more minutes or not?
We do.
Question. 1 or 2 questions, maybe.
Oh, okay.
Maybe if people have some questions, or do you want to continue?
I just want to wrap up. We talked about security. Yeah. We didn't talk about COVID much, so I'm not going to go through all of that, but just one from each, COVID, what was the impact? What has changed? What have we learned in terms of expectations, maybe around that?
For us, opportunity to make difference with banks. Sorry to say that, but transparency, quality of services, and let's say more worldwide approach because customers stay here for COVID. So we have to be very close to them.
Alejandro, let you respond and then go to Patrick for yachting.
I love that you're saying that because from one day to the other, we had 90% of our employees working from home. And that meant that we needed to supply IT, that means computers and services, and they all needed to work from one day to the other. So what happened last March is that suddenly when the markets collapsed, we saw the highest volume in trading equity in the history of UBS in one day in March. And we were able to handle that while 90% of our employees were from home. And the reason for that is, the reason for this volume is some of our competitors couldn't. And I'm not going to name them, but you can imagine that the best names on the street in the US, their systems collapsed and they had to route everything through us. So that's probably one of the reasons why you saw that our numbers last year, and they continue to have it this year, were just spectacular. Right, so I'm happy to have that differentiation.
And we saw COVID did to yachting, but
well, it depends what you're referring to, because of course the word on the street now is everything's great, fantastic, yachting's booming. We have very short memories because we have to remember that only a year ago we were on the edge of a precipice. We didn't know what was going on, and we've had a year of some people really struggling. I think we have to recognize the negatives that it brought, the inability to get decisions on new builds due to market uncertainty, delivery of parts having problems, people getting to the boats was a problem, charterers unable to get to the point of embarkation, yachts unable to go into certain chartering zones. I mean, it's been a legal nightmare in terms of charter addendums and rebookings and postponements. It's not all been rosy, but here now, yes, the cloud does have a silver lining, and we're seeing a surge in sales, and things are very, very positive. We're seeing more of a focus on sustainability as a result of this pandemic. We're seeing digital transformation, which is all very positive. And yes, we are in a good place, but who would ever have thought it?
And you probably shouldn't celebrate too soon. Like you said, you still need to do your homework, still need to deliver, still need to be transparent and build trust, like you said. Any questions?
A quick one.
A quick one.
Very quick one. Thank you very much. I just wondered, maybe it's a little bit cynical of me, but to what degree, what's your opinion on this idea of scarcity, that perhaps instead of security, instead of opportunities, one of the reasons why people are attracted to Monaco is because other people can't come to Monaco. And so the more expensive the property is, actually, the more interesting it is to come for those people who are in that very kind of small group of people that can afford to. So within that context, it's not so much about kind of security or these opportunities or performance, but in the minds of the ultra wealthy, it's precisely because other people can't afford to go to a place or can't afford to do something that they choose to come here. I just wondered, is that overly cynical of me, or in your experience, is that something that has an impact?
My personal view is that scarcity on the full 360 spectrum of why someone might come to Monaco, scarcity of property or the limited ability to be able to come here would be a very minor part of the overall reasoning that would just, I think the more you have, the less you have to prove what you've got. And whilst the limited size of Monaco means that the wealthy people who are in Monaco are very interesting and the networking opportunities are considerable. I think the scarcity of opportunity is relatively small.
I second that. I think we're all saying the same thing, right? Because at the end, scarcity brings exclusivity, which brings security, which brings, you know, less people at hospitals, et cetera, et cetera. Because if it was just scarcity, you would move to the Sahara Desert, right? When there is nobody.
The stability of the system is very important. The fiscality, the readable fiscality is very important. People do not want to have, let's say, a 30% tax 1 year with president, next year 50%, 20%. So they know where they are here.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Thank you. I'm sorry I have to close the round table. We have a last presentation before ending this morning. Thank you for your presence again. I would like now to welcome Mr. Laurent Lecombe, Managing Director for Watch Division at Montblanc. Laurent, are you with us? We cannot hear you. Thank you so much. Merci.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Perfect, thank you.
Perfect, welcome. Okay, hello everybody. Perhaps you can hear this, but I'm now in Switzerland. It's quite noisy, but I am in Villeray. Villeray is a beautiful place in the middle of Switzerland. So you are in Monaco, I am in Villeray. We have a bridge in between. That's very interesting. And I was supposed to be with you today. I cannot because of the COVID. So we have decided with the university together to organize as an exception this Zoom conference here at one of the most famous manufacturer of watches in Switzerland. You are here in a place that is closed. It's a place dedicated to the high-end customers. This place here, the museum, with more than 1,000 pieces. Some of them are more than 100 years old, pocket watches, wristwatches, and so on. And not the first time we open it, I would say officially as online to limited, very limited, small group of people. So here, what is behind is clearly history of Switzerland. And when we have to deal about how to turn a fan, how to turn a customer into a fan, I think that clearly we have first to understand what the watchmaking industry is and how it works. In our industry, I was listening to you, it was very interesting. And one of you has mentioned something that the customer has to be unique. It's true. A customer will never buy anything in the high end if it is not unique. In the last years, I was working as the CEO and founder of a famous watch company here in Switzerland. I sold my shares. I created from scratch. I developed the company up to 75, 80 employees, and we had one manufacturer producing high-end timepieces and components for the industry. And when I started from zero, everybody told me you will never manage it. It's impossible to be successful in such a competitive environment. But I will tell you something. I was only focusing on the niche. I didn't expect to sell to many people. I just wanted to sell to targeted groups of people worldwide. It means when a customer called me on Saturday morning and say, Laurent, I live in Singapore. I heard about your product. I would like to see you on Monday. Believe me, the same day I was booking my flight going to Singapore without COVID at the time, of course. But the point is, this is how I've developed it. And I can tell you something today. My experience selling pieces up to 1 million euros or more directly to the end customer, my experience is the following. If you want to be successful, you have 3 points you have to insist on and always keep in your mind. The first one is emotion. I'll give you a simple example. I just offered to my wife beautiful flowers 2 or 3 weeks ago, and she was so happy. I had a very nice weekend. 1 week later, I did the same with my daughter, 3 years old. I just ordered flowers for my daughter, the first flower she received, yeah, since the birth. 3 years old, she received the flowers, and she was smiling and so happy. And during 2 or 3 days, she was very close to me and say, many thanks, Papa, merci pour les fleurs. Thanks for the flowers. Emotion is the key. And I will explain to you with a few anecdotes and examples in Russia, in Japan, in India, and in Monaco as well. The second point is differentiation. The differentiation is something we have to insist on if we want to transform a customer into a fan. And I will give a few examples, and one with Pléon, by the way, something we are developing together here in Switzerland. And last but not least, I'm sure it's something you never heard about. That's why I would like to explain this today. It's a business philosophy to develop sales and to reach the high-end customers. And this philosophy comes from Japan. I spent 5 years in Japan. I was CEO for a company in Japan. I learned a lot of things while being in Japan. And one day I visited a temple in Kyoto. And in that temple, there is one garden. And this garden has revealed a secret for the business. And I will share this secret with you today. So let's start now with the first point. It's share my screen. I hope you can see this. How it's possible. Do you see the screen now? Yes, do you see it? Hello?
Yes, yes.
Yes, okay, thank you. Here on the screen, you find on the left, it's a customer. On the right, it's a fan. So what is the process? How can you transform the one on the left into the one also on the right? The first point is emotion. And today, as an exception, I will show you something extraordinary in the watchmaking industry. We are in Switzerland with the most beautiful movements existing. So I've decided to introduce you to a new caliber. It's not a new one, it's a very old one, but we have just modified a little bit. And you are among the first in the world to discover this. And I will explain to you how we sold a limited edition of 18 pieces, 50,000 euros each in less than 3 days. So let me share with you. Okay. Here you see an extraordinary movement. Everything you see, everything has been created, developed, and assembled by my team, by watchmakers here in Villeray. And I will tell you something. One watchmaker is in charge of one movement. It means we never mix the watchmakers. Why? When you have an end customer buying a watch for 50,000 or even for 250,000, we sold such an exclusive timepiece 2 weeks ago. This customer, he was asking to speak to the watchmaker who did assemble the watch. And when we explain to the end customer that we assemble the components, we control everything, but only one watchmaker is in charge of everything. And when we explain that once this movement is completely assembled, then we will disassemble the movement to reassemble it, just to check 2 times that it works perfectly. Who is doing this in that industry? That's a key point. We are bringing something new in terms of value and emotion. The customer who bought, for example, the piece for 250,000 euros a few 2 weeks ago, he asked for a Zoom meeting with me and with the watchmaker. And he was asking so many questions, but I will tell you something, only emotional questions, 80%, 20%, it was technical questions. He wanted to know about the inspiration behind. He wanted to know about the after sales. He wanted to know about the watchmaker, what he's doing in his life, how much time was needed to assemble the watch, and so on. And here on these movements, you will see this part is unique in the watch industry. This is a very famous V-shaped bridge from Villeray, Montblanc. And this V-shaped bridge is extremely looked after by collectors. And today I will share with you the historical reason of it. Now, let's have a look, and I will turn my camera to the left, and I hope you can see. So this is Switzerland, of course, small village of Villeray. And what you see here, this is the V shape, okay? Here you have the V shape with the two mountains forming a V. It sounds like being small detail, but now if you observe the movements, once again, you see here the V shape of these mountains. So it means that since 1858, all the watchmakers we have, they sit every day in front of these two mountains with the V-shaped mountains, and they decided in 1912 to protect this design and to put it inside a movement with a function, of course, with a chronograph function. That's unique in this industry. It only exists here in Villeray by Montblanc. And this is one of the reasons why so many collectors worldwide are calling us, and some of them are even placing orders 1 or 2 years in advance to be sure to get our timepieces. And now let's go deeper into the emotion parts. You see here, this is the ratchet of the movement. Now observe it. It looks like delicate spirals when I move slightly. I will share with you a big secret. This savoir-faire now does only exist by Montblanc in Villeray. We are the last company in Switzerland to have preserved such a savoir-faire. The lady in charge, she received from us today a gift because she's working for the company for more than 21 years. 21 years. And this lady is the only one capable of creating this preserved savoir-faire here on the ratchet of the movement. Of course, people will not pay attention when they look at the movement to that part, but luxury is in details. And even if I only have the 50 or 100 key collectors worldwide, taking the movement in the hands, observing the movement in details, and saying, wow, you have the diamantage coquille. Diamantage coquille, it's diamond finishing in English. You have this the diamond finishing on the ratchet of the movement. How comes? It does not exist anymore. We bring them, we provide them with something completely new in terms of emotion, tradition, and this customer will never be a customer, but it will be a fan of the product. So you see, a movement is not only made of components, it's made of emotions. You are real watchmakers working behind one watchmaker in charge of the assembling, disassembling, reassembling. Even here, I'll show you something. You have an arrow here. Do you see the arrow? This is something very unique in this industry, and this is signature of the brand. Even the finishing you see here, for most of the movement in the world, it's brass. Here we're using the German silver. German silver is more expensive, for sure. It's hard to work on, but the look is completely different. We are one of the last company to do it. And once again, the collectors, the real fans and watch aficionados worldwide, they are coming to us to see these movements and to buy these timepieces. So I just want to explain to you that emotion is something really key if you want to sell luxury goods. But now, I would like to share with you my own experience in Monaco. 2 anecdotes. By chance, it's in Monaco. So, a few years ago, when I launched my own watch company, I took part to an exhibition at the Monte Carlo Bay Hotel. 25 brands were there. My brand was not so famous. And of course, I had to fight to sell and expand my products. And then at 11 o'clock in the morning, 11:30, a child, 7 or 8 years old, entered the room, exhibition place, and stopped at the first booth. It was a brand, I will not mention the brand, and he was asking questions about the product. Of course, the salespeople here, they refused to give the answers to him because he was 7 or 8 years old, who cares? And then he stopped at each and every booth and nobody wanted to give any answer to him. Then he came to me. I was the last booth. because I had no budget for my brand, so it was the last one at the time. He stopped and started asking questions, very clever questions. I can tell you, if you want to be successful in luxury, develop your product and ask a child, so your child, or ask any children what they think about it, you will find the solutions, believe me. The questions he was asking, and the attention he was paying to the products, and all the atmosphere during the conversation was amazing. 45 minutes. I spent 45 minutes with him. I didn't ask any questions, just replying to his questions. After 45 minutes, he left the room. All people from all the brands came to me and said, hey, Laurent, you have nothing to do in your life. Why are you losing time with a child? So why is it boy? So do something else. So it brings nothing. And they're all laughing and were not so kind to me. Okay, who cares? A few hours later, the same boy entered again the room. But at the time, he was not alone. He was with a bigger man, and he was a Russian guy, by the way. And he asked something in Russian, and he was asking the boy who was the guy he was speaking to, which brand. And he pointed at me and he said, Dad, this is the guy. And he came to me, the father. I said, what did I do? Something wrong? Or, you know, with Russian people, I always take care. So, okay. And then he said, did you explain this watch? Which watch did you explain to my son? I said, that one. He said, okay, how much is it? I said, it's 70,000 euros. He said, okay, I buy the watch. I didn't believe it. I said, but are you sure you don't want me to explain the watch? He said, listen, my boy came back to me. He told me that you were the only one to take time with him. He explained the watch perfectly. I checked online what it is, and I love the design. The story is well explained. My son loves it as well. It's emotion. I will buy the watch. And the most expensive timepiece sold during the exhibition was mine. You see how emotion can be key in this industry. And now I continue this story. A few months later, he called me back and said, Laurent, I want to buy another watch. It's for one of my friends. I would like to buy to you directly. He didn't want to go to any store, wholesale, retail, online, say, I want to buy your watch to you directly. He paid the full price because he said, I don't want to ask you. Emotion is key. I would like to share another example. Still in Monaco, when I founded my company. It was a Saturday, and the store at the time was Temps et Passion. Perhaps some of you know Temps et Passion. It was the former owner was Patrice Moreau. Patrice Moreau has left since that time, but he was there in the store and say, Laurent, it's Saturday morning. I have here a customer. It's a Patek Philippe customer in front of me. He saw your watch in a magazine, and I have it here in my boutique. He wants to buy it, 150,000 euros. Please come this day. The next minute I was online. I remember it was with EasyJet. I took my EasyJet, no COVID, of course, and I was flying to Monaco, to Nice, and then to Monaco by car. He picked me up. I spent 3 hours with the end customer. The end customer told me, I don't like your product. He said, I'm interested, but I will never buy. I said, oh, okay. But I always know in luxury, the best sales start with a no. When a customer say, I don't want to buy, or I don't want to invest, for example, for the UBS, for Playon, for all the companies, if that being, let's say, I'm not sure, this customer can be the best one for you. Because if you know how to implicate, to share with him, to develop the emotional aspects, it will be a fan. I said, okay, let me explain to you. And the name of the brand was Cyrus. I developed. And the owners say, the clients say, okay, I just wrote my Doctorarbeit, my doctorate. I bought it, so I wrote it about Cyrus, who was a king. So it means I had in front of me a very rich collector buying only Patek Philippe. But this guy, he wrote his degree about Cyrus, who was a king, and the name at the same time of my company. Say, okay. We spent 3 hours together. He was asking hundreds of questions about Cyrus. And I always say we have to go into details. So I gave all the answers. And at the end, he told me, I never met someone with such a passion, knowing everything about the product he's selling. I buy the watch. And he became a fan of the watch, of the products, just because we had developed something unique. We can explain why we have developed it. And that's how he became one of the best customers ever for our company. So it means that once you surprise people, once you create something emotional, always you will be successful. But most of the companies, they forget, just pay attention to the money. Money is short term. Emotion is long term. And if you are willing to wait, and I can prove it with my own watch companies and where I am now with Montblanc. With Montblanc, we have long-term plans. We are building something extraordinary in this industry, and we see it works extremely well. So it was for the emotion. I do it a little bit quicker because I see that I speak too much. The second point is differentiation. Differentiation, I just show you an example of what it is. I developed it here. Yes. Here on the screen, you see Henry Ford on the right, okay? And Henry Ford said, if I had asked my customer what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. But he came to the idea to create cars. You see, the vision. He wanted to be different from the competition. The competition was focusing on the horses. He already had in his mind something else coming next. And this differentiation for me is something absolutely key. And that's what we are developing, for example, with Pléon together. So it's by chance they are here today. It was not planned, so it's not advertisement or anything else. But we are planning something in September with key customers from Pléon. We will create for them something unique in the watch industry. They will be invited in this space, completely VVVVIP space. Nobody can enter here. And they will meet the watchmakers, and we are developing something very specific. I cannot explain because of competition and it's online, but we are launching a new concept in the watch industry to be closer to the end customers and to make them happier and happier. That's the point. In terms of differentiation, we should not always focus on the innovation or products. We should think about the way we are selling our products and the way we are managing the after sales. I'll share with you a story. I was in Russia, and one of my customers, after many months, perhaps 1 year time, he said, okay, Laurent, I trust you now. I will buy a watch. He was buying a watch for 14,000 euros and something. A few weeks later, he had a big issue with the watch. Something was wrong with the movement. So I speak frankly. He said, okay, I have a big issue with the movement. He sent the watch back to me. The next day, I was completely changing the movement in his watch. It was a new movement. Usually, brands that don't do it because you lose your margin and you lose money. I said, it's a client, he has an issue, we change the movements. At the same time, I observed that the strap was used and the buckle was used as well. And I asked my team to change everything. It was like a new watch, completely repolished, completely clean, everything. I gave the watch back to him in less than 2 weeks after I received. And he told me, Laurent, this is the quickest and best after-sales service ever. I will mention it to all of my friends. And a few weeks later, he called me back and said, Laurent, I spoke to one of my friends. He would like to buy a watch. He has a budget of 80 to 90,000 euros. Russian guy. I asked him to call you, or you can call him now if you wish. Call him, discuss with him, and he will buy the watch. So, wow, imagine how much time I have to travel, how much time I have to be on the roads to sell a watch for 85,000 or 90,000 euros. And I just called the guy in Moscow. I speak Russian, so it helped, of course, but nevertheless, it was, okay, we'll explain later, but we had a discussion together. After 5 minutes, he said, okay, Laurent, I buy the watch. I'm convinced I want to try it. I want to put it on my wrist. How much? I say, it was 88,000 euros. I say, okay, send to me now all the bank information. You receive the money in 2 days in Switzerland. I didn't believe it. Because selling a luxury goods on the phone for 88,000 euros, and I don't know him, he doesn't know me. So I mean, something's wrong. He will not wire the money. 2 days later, he called me back and said, did you check your bank account? I say, no. I say, please do it. I was online. I say, okay, checking. And I say, ooh, God, the money is there. I received the money. And I asked him, but how comes that you trust me and you just send the money without seeing the product? And he told me, my best friend, Andre, he told me that I can trust you 100%. And I will tell you something. If Andre recommends me to do and to buy something, I do it. Because when people buy luxury goods, they first ask their best friends about it. They are not checking online on Instagram, on whatever. They ask the best friends first. And he told me, and now we will be a group of people, all of them will buy your watches every year when you launch something new. And that's what did happen. That's how we have developed the business with these people. Now, last but not least, I would like to share with you a Japanese philosophy. As I explained to you, I spent more than 5 years in Japan as a CEO of a company there. And at the beginning, I made a lot of mistakes. I had no idea about the Japanese market. Everything's so complicated. After a few years' time, I felt much better. And it was easier for me then to sell luxury goods in this country. And while being in Japan, one time I was in, I tried to find the picture. I was in Kyoto, and on one of our many trips to Japan, I made a private visit to the Ryenji Buddhist temple located northwest of Kyoto. This temple is world famous, mainly because it has an incredible Zen rock garden, which is a UNESCO heritage site since 1994. The garden, and I will show you in a few minutes, the garden is actually a 248 square meter rectangular plot. I was mesmerized the very first time I saw it, and it still inspires the same feelings in me today. So let me share with you how it looks, and then I will explain the philosophy behind. This is the garden. Okay. This is the garden, Ryenji Temple, 250 square meter rectangular plot. Observe this garden, observe it. If you observe the garden, you will see that it is comprised of, you can see on the screen, of white gravel representing the ocean, and you have 15 stones symbolizing the mountains. The stones are carefully arranged into 5 groups of 5, 2, 3, 2, and 3 stones respectively. And when looking at the garden from any angle, I insist, from any angle, only 14 of the stones are visible at once. It means that one of them is always hidden from view. That's completely crazy. And you have to imagine that it is in Japan. So you have to imagine these people 500 years ago walking on that garden, putting 15 stones, small ones, but you will only see 14 stones. Personally, visiting that garden enabled me to put a name to my own view of the world, whether it be the private sphere or the business world. I believe very firmly that we should never, never, never be content with what we think we know, but we must constantly seek new perspectives. If we observe the 14 stones from a particular place, and if by moving along the terrace surrounding the garden, we then discover the missing 15th stone, it means we have lost sight of another. I love this philosophy. In other words, our perception of the world around us can never be complete, but only partial. We see only the fragments, but not and never the whole panorama. It is that inability to see everything at once that opens us up to possibilities, makes us, you, capable of imagining new ideas, designing new solutions, finding new interpretations, or building on what already exists. And this Ryenji philosophy perfectly applies to the business world and to the luxury and its changing nature. I always stress that we have to keep looking for that missing 15th stone, even if we think we have already found it. It is a philosophy that teaches us the art of enduring, which is something in luxury. It is, to me, the state of arts, innovation. And that's how you will serve your customer the best way and turn him or her into a fan. So always keep in your mind that you should never, never, never believe that you are the best, you know everything. You have to work with humility, and you have to look for the 15th stone. And all these customers, all the anecdotes I've shared with you, it's only by looking for the 15th stone that I've managed to find these end customers. And these end customers now are really good friends. They are fans of brands, but not only what I've developed in the past, but they follow me so for the next steps as well. So this is the key for me, the emotion, the differentiation, and the 15th stone. Don't forget the re-NG philosophy. Voilà. Sorry, it was more than 20 minutes, but voilà. Do you have questions?
I think the comparison with yachting can be easily done. Do we have any question before finishing our morning? Any comments maybe? Any people agreeing? Anybody else? No? No questions? No remarks? Everybody agree with Mr. Lecan? Yes? Okay, good. Thank you so much again. Thank you for your very interesting presentation. It's been a great pleasure for us to have you on board this morning. Thanks to all of you. Annalisa, Sophie, do you want to say a few words to conclude before letting people going to profit for the lunch? Maybe to conclude the morning?
If you allow me to say something?
Yes, please.
May I? I would like to share with you another story. So my colleagues, my employees, they say that I'm a storyteller, but I love storytelling. I mean, life without storytelling, we are only surviving, not living. Here, the first day when I started, I remember I went to a watchmaker and I asked him, tell me, on average, how many years our watchmakers work for Montblanc in Villeray? And they told me average 15 to 20 years. Wow, I was very impressed. Because the only country with such a result is Japan. Huh? So, okay. And then they told me, do you know that one of the watchmakers, his name was Mr. Bourquin. He was working more than 60 years for here in Villeray. 60 years. And the company has been founded in 1858, and don't forget it. 6 years, wow, very impressive. So yeah, but it's not, there is something else. His father was already working as a watchmaker here by the company, and he was controlling the production process. 45 years. Altogether, you have more than 100 years experience with 2 watchmakers. That's what luxury is made of, passion. If you are passionate about what you are doing, you will be successful. Just what I wanted to explain. I have many anecdotes, but I have no time. So, okay. Merci beaucoup.
Laurent. And actually, I know. Our students love your passion. And actually, I hope that next year we will be able to come to Monaco and then meet my students in person as you used to do in the past.
I will.
Just to conclude, actually, by chance, actually, we didn't synchronize our presentations, Laurent, but I think that what you just explained perfectly fit with the results and then the discussions we had before. So thank you, because I think this is a perfect wrap up of this first meeting about ultra high net worth individuals. I hope that you learned something. I hope that was interesting. And then personally it was, and then I really learned many things from our dear guest speakers and professionals. And then as a researcher, we truly believe in this exchange, that it's so paramount, because research without business or business without research cannot really go ahead. So we hope that this is just the first meeting. So with Sophie, we were discussing about the opportunity to create some regular events all through the year in order to maybe to bring this conversation to different stages. So we will come back to you with some ideas, with our ideas. And so we will be more than happy to share with you and then to receive your feedbacks. So I think that now it's time to go to lunch, then to have some fun together. And then thank you, Gregory, for hosting us today, and then for having this first personal physical meeting.
Thanks to AM. Have a good lunch.
Laurent.
Thank you so much.
Ciao, Caro. Merci.
Thanks for coming. The lunch is outside, is served. So please welcome yourself. Thank you.